I'd like to tell you about when radar came to town. When I first started driving, there was no such thing as radar. And when it came to speeding, if you were inclined to speeding, and I was, you always just sort of looked around for a policeman, and if you saw one, you slowed down. And have you ever noticed, it's rather amazing that your opinion about a policeman kind of depends on your behavior. If you're behaving and you're really doing good and you're doing everything right, you see a policeman and you think, oh man, there's one of those fine, upstanding law officers. I'm so glad he's on the job. But if you're misbehaving, if you're stealing something or if you're speeding down the road, you see a policeman and you think, oh, there's another one of them dirty cops. Well, sometimes I kind of think, oh, that's the way it is with people in their relationship to God. Their opinion about God and about Jesus depends on their behavior. If they're behaving good, then they think God is pretty nice, and believing in God is nice, and believing in Jesus is good. But if they're misbehaving, then all of a sudden they don't want anything to do with God. They can't find God just for the same reason a robber can't find a cop. Well, when radar first came to town, it was a big thing. They had a front page news article all about radar, explaining what it is and sort of how it worked, and they showed a picture of the radar device. Today we take them for granted. A radar device is really small. It can be smaller than a hairdryer and has a little window in the back, and the policeman can have it in his pocket. He can jump out of his car and go, and man, you're zapped. They have radar and they have LiDAR and they have all kinds of different things. But back then it was a new thing, and it was coming live to St. Petersburg. And they said how much it cost. It was some atrocious figure, and how they figured it would pay for itself in lives saved and tickets written. And they showed a picture of it, and I'm not kidding you, the radar device took up an entire Ford van. They had it in a Ford van that was white, and it said St. Petersburg Police on the side in really big letters, and in really big bold letters it said radar, warning, radar, right on the back. And in order to use radar back then, it was such a new thing legally, they had to jump through a bunch of legal hoops. And so in order to use radar, they had to put out these big warning signs, kind of like those signs that say flagger ahead, really big signs with flags on them. And the sign said something like, warning, radar ahead. And they had to put one on both sides of the van, coming and going. And then the van had to park in plain sight on the side of the road that was safe so nobody would hit it. And then, of course, on the back of the van and on the sides of the van, it said, warning, radar. And you would go zooming by that thing and it would shoot you. Well, I thought, man, I hope I get to see it someday. I never got a chance to see it. And one day I was going to go to school, and I got on my motorcycle and fired it up and took off to school. And I was going down Haynes Road, which was the route to school, and there's a straight area, really straight area where you can plainly see ahead. And sure enough, here was a big sign said, warning, radar ahead. So I slowed down, and here on the side of the road was this van parked with a big sign on the back of the van, warning, radar. And they had this big dish-like thing mounted on the side of it. And as I went by, sure enough, they shot my speed, but they were good cops doing their really good job that day, because I was driving less than the speed limit, and they didn't catch me. But they sure caught a lot of other people, and that's what it was like when radar first came to town. Not like it is today, quite a bit different.